Okay, let's do a month in review video. I'm still doing my map, and this map is loaded. So I'm just going to go over a few things, keep the video very short. One of the biggest things that happened this month geopolitically is the first visit Putin made after being inaugurated president was to China. And since then, China and Russia have sort of reiterated and announced strengthened economic and military ties, including just the other day, I think the new defense minister said in no uncertain terms that Russia and China are essentially military partners now. And this is exactly what many of us were saying from the outset of the special military operation when the huge sanctions were enacted in an attempt to economically isolate Russia. And at the same time, and ongoing for the past few years, the United States and its partners, if you want to call them partners, or vassals would be a more accurate description, have been antagonizing China over the Taiwan issue. So the Chinese can see what's going on here. They don't trust America. They don't trust the West. They see that if whatever happens is happening to Russia now, they pretty much can see that they are going to be next. And a lot of people point to these historic strategic disputes between China and Russia as being some sort of non-starter. China and Russia had disputes in the past over these northern border regions. These are no longer uh, important. And what you have created, what the United States has created here with the proxy war that it started in Ukraine, is a Chinese and Russian alliance, which together these two countries are unstoppable. The United States and all of Europe cannot go up against Russia and China. They are actually perfect allies for each other. One is a huge commodities producer, and the other one is the world's manufacturing powerhouse. I mean, just use your common sense, people. So that's one thing that happened this week. One thing that I'm finding interesting is what's going on in Vietnam. And again, all roads here are leading back to Ukraine. Vietnam has been on an anti corruption sort of spree here. And what I find interesting is the media's reaction to it. Let me see if I could find a good. So here we go. Anti graft scheme. Vietnam forfeits billions of dollars in foreign aid amid anti-graft freeze. So what appears to be happening here, that didn't open up. What appears to be happening here, so this goes back to a story that came out a few months ago where some sort of NGO here, some sort of Western backed NGO, put out a paper saying, oh my God, the Vietnamese are going to go after corruption, and that means go after NGOs in their country. So they're going to crack down on Western influence. So that came out a few months ago. It was reported by NPR. It's in one of the other maps. And since then, we've seen a lot of moves by Vietnam as Vietnam goes on this anti-corruption crusade. And what you see in the media is you see a lot of the media companies, a lot of the media organizations really complaining and lamenting, oh my God, this is terrible. You know, they're going after corruption in Vietnam. This is going to be essentially bad for business, is what they're basically saying. So it appears to me that Vietnam, while they don't trust China, because they actually had a short war with China right after the United States Vietnam War, they certainly don't trust the United States. So Vietnam is operating in this unique sort of position where they're not really taking either side. They're not really trying to play both sides on each other. They're trying to do their own thing. They just appointed a former security minister as the premier of the Communist Party, I think. So Vietnam is going to be one to watch. Southeast Asia right now is a very dynamic area. You got Myanmar, which appears to be sort of leaning towards China a little bit. Then you have, the United States complained, or no, Malaysia, was the United States was complaining that Malaysia is helping facilitate the transfer of oil out of Iran right here. So the United States is pissed off at Malaysia. Malaysia appears to be deepening its ties with China. This has been all over. So U.S. tariffs. There goes this situation where the Biden administration imposed tariffs on medical supplies coming out of China. Well, all China is going to do is reroute those supplies through Malaysia, and there's nothing that can be done there. So it's just going to increase the prices that we have to pay for them, because we're not bringing back manufacturing to the United States with tariffs, people. That's not how you're going to be able to bring manufacturing back to the United States. The reason manufacturing left the United States is simply because we are the issuer of the world's reserve currency. So you have Triffin's dilemma. Basically, having a world's reserve currency is going to gut your manufacturing sector, and there's nothing you can do about it. So very dynamic situations going on. India has been having their election for the past month. It's been nonstop election. I mean, I couldn't imagine. It seems like their elections are worse than ours in the United States at this point. Myanmar is one of these places where the United States is actively, or the United States, the Western sort of NGO complex is actively sort of supporting rebel groups. So Myanmar basically is one of the hot spots for the East-West sort of geopolitical great game. Thailand is pretty much in the pocket of the West at this point. Laos, nobody really cares about. Malaysia, like I said, is sort of veering towards China. Singapore is like this place which is like sort of a neutral zone for this sort of conflict going on between the Chinese-centered people and then the U.S.-centered people. Right now in Singapore, there's a huge conference going on. It's called the Shangri-La Security Conference. It's hosted by some sort of Western think tank, and it's mostly Western-centered. All of these, Zelensky is there for some reason, right? Like anybody wants to see him there. So that's what's going on. Philippines continues to be a hot spot between the United States and China. What I found very interesting is in the beginning of the month, if I can find it, Duarte, let me pause it. Duarte, who was the last president of the Philippines, made the comment, "We don't want to be the Ukraine of Asia." And I think this is going to be a talking point we're going to see more and more of, especially in Asia. The Ukraine war, everybody understands what actually happened, and it's going to be a real damper on U.S. soft power all over the world, but especially in Southeast Asia. So Southeast Asia has been very dynamic, a lot of stuff going on. Of course, we still have the ongoing two major conflicts, the one in Ukraine, where basically the Russians are slowly and methodically picking Ukraine apart at this point. It seems like the momentum has shifted the momentum's been on Russia's side really for a long time, ever since like early 2023. But it seems like we're at the point of no return here. Basically, this is a done deal. It's just, I think the Russians are going to take their time with it. What else is going on? We have the Gaza war, which it looks like basically the United States has lost control of Israel at this point. Biden has lost control of Netanyahu, and they're going to continue this war. We always have these media PR campaigns. Oh, they got a peace deal coming. Just wait. You have like for 3 days straight. It's like, oh, peace deal, peace deal, peace deal. They're negotiating. Oh, Hamas accepts it, whatever. And then every time, and what just happened today, Netanyahu says, fuck your peace deal. We want to murder Palestinians. That's what we're going to do. Nobody's going to do anything about it. We're gonna do what we're doing, and that's it. So, I think I was reading a story on South China Morning Post where it rightfully said that this is going to be a big nightmare for Biden. So that continues. Egypt, don't care. So that's been really dynamic in that sense. What else has been going on? Anything really major? Africa continues to be a lot of stuff going on. So Nigeria earlier in the month had the situation where they ordered the United States to leave this base in Nigeria, and the Russian soldiers came in before they left, and the Russian soldiers and the U.S. soldiers were hanging out. And basically, Niger said, United States, you got to go. You're not helping us. You're just creating more problems, so please leave. So that's Niger. What happened with Burkina Faso? Mali deal with the IMF. Okay, so that's interesting because Mali is in this new axis of resistance within Africa, but they're still getting IMF money, so that can be something to watch. What just happened today, very interesting in Africa, is the a European NGO worker was accused of inciting revolt in the Central African Republic. So a lot of people don't realize it, but Central African Republic is a big hotspot of intrigue between the United States and Russia. So that's going to continue to be a thing. I mean, they have a lot of mineral resources. Congo continues to be a hot spot. Again, this goes to the proxy war, basically, that is being prosecuted between Rwanda and Congo. So basically, Rwanda has a proxy force that's going into Congo and stealing and basically taking control of these areas here. And these are areas, there's a lot of mines here. The main mineral that they like to get out of these mines is called coltan, which is important for batteries, which is a big deal right now because we have still are on the tail end of this electric vehicle fad. But basically, what Rwanda is doing is it's stealing the minerals, it's routing them through Rwanda. They have fake mines in Rwanda, and then Rwanda says, "Oh, we mined these minerals in Rwanda," and then they get shipped off mostly to Qatar. So they go to Qatar, and then from Qatar, who knows where else they're going? But they're probably going to Europe and the United States. So we have that going on. There was a little bit of situations going on in Mozambique earlier in the month, and this was to do with, I guess, ISIS has something going on down there, and I guess ISIS was attacking an oil-rich area. And notice with ISIS, they're always attacking targets that are of strategic interest to the United States and to Europe. Just remember that. I mean, you're going to see that. People make the good points all the time. ISIS has never attacked Israel. Think about that. It's a little strange, isn't it? So we know that ISIS is basically a mercenary force of the United States posing as a terrorist group. There wasn't a real ISIS at one point that was actually fighting against the United States. That's been largely eliminated, and now they've kind of co-opted the name of ISIS, and they're using ISIS as a sort of cover to do, state-sponsored U.S., United States and Turkey, state-sponsored terrorism. That's what ISIS has become. In South Africa, we just had a major election. And if we noticed, ever since South Africa did the case in the ICJ, the media really turned on the ANC, the African National Congress, which has been the ruling party of South Africa for a long time. And you see the media really change their attitude. And I suspect that a lot of chicanery has been going on in South Africa. A lot of money from other countries has been coming into South Africa. And what we just had was a result of the African National Congress losing their majority for the first time in many, many years. Interestingly enough, the party that gained the most was, I think, Zuma's party, which is a splinter of the ANC, which is even more like racially extreme than the ANC. So that result just came in today. Another color revolution that blatant color revolution has been going on in Georgia all month. So this is one of the most ridiculous situations going on in the world right now. Georgia has been trying for years now to pass a law to prevent Western money from coming into Georgia and corrupting their politics. It's basically a less strict law than what we have in the United States, which is called the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So in the United States, if you are a lobbyist, basically, if you are coming to the United States on behalf of another country, let's say Spain, and you're coming to the United States to talk to officials, to set up sort of political groups like, not NGOs, think tanks, and you're getting money from another country like Spain, for example, you have to register that to the Foreign Agents Registration through, in accordance with the Foreign Agents Registration Act. If you get even a little bit of money, you have to register, and that has to be public knowledge, and if you don't, the penalties are pretty severe. Let's not forget there was a woman named Maria Butina during the Russiagate hysteria. She was accused of being, the media tried to portray her as a spy, and she was put in jail for a couple years, I believe, maybe a year or two. Okay, and what she was doing was basically hanging out with the NRA, but she got a little bit of money from Russia, okay? And she was in some way connected to Russia. It was very tenuous connection at best, and she was put in jail for that. In Georgia, what they're asking for in Georgia has been a bill much less strict than what we have in the United States. Basically, if a NGO or a nonprofit gets 20% or more of its money from a foreign government, or even, I don't know if it's a government or from somewhere in the country, I would suspect a foreign government or something connected to a foreign government, maybe just a foreign-based country. If they get 20% of that money, they have to register. So if it's less than 20% coming from another country, they don't have to register. I'm quite sure in the United States, the requirements for registering as a foreign agent are much more strict than that, and also all over Europe. So what's been happening is these massive protests that are obviously funded, well, they're funded by the NGOs that are against these bills. These NGOs that are getting all this money from the United States and Europe are basically paying people to go out and protest, organizing all these protests, paying for the food, and they're getting tens of thousands of people out there, right? And it's a really ridiculous situation. It's been going on all month. Okay, and where they get these are people that basically work for the NGOs or have family that works for the NGOs. And then you have stupid people like the women that came one day, like 10,000 women came, and they called it a women's march. And it's like, what does this have to do with women's rights? It has nothing to do with women's rights. It really has nothing, right? So they were duped into coming there. And basically, I get the sense that the people of Georgia, the broader population, gets it, and they know what's going on, and the bill got pushed through anyway. It got vetoed by the president, and now the veto's been overturned, and that is going to become law very soon. And I'm sure they're going to get down to brass tacks very soon and go after these NGOs. So the way the media has portrayed this, of course, has been completely dishonest, and they're saying, oh, it's a pro-Russian law. Has nothing to do with Russia. It actually has more to do with protecting Georgia from foreign influence from Russia than being pro-Russia, because the law would apply to Russian-funded NGOs as well. There's no exception for Russian NGOs. So it's really been a ridiculous situation all month, just these pretty big protests in the capital of Georgia, all to no avail, because I think the broader population really gets it. So what's been going on up here? This was an interesting story as a side note. I guess a guy who was accused of spying for Hong Kong was found dead in a park in UK. So a UK citizen who's basically on charges for being a Chinese spy, basically. He was found dead in a park. We haven't heard much about that story since then. Uh, so we got that going on. The Haiti crisis kind of calmed down. Just today, there was a article that came out for I guess the new prime minister. Here he goes. Gary Conil arrives in the country. In the article, it basically says that he was basically handpicked by the United States. Okay, he was basically handpicked by the United States. So, because it says in the article that one of his challenges is going to be managing the perception that he was handpicked by the United States. So, I don't know. Like, I doubt this guy is going to have much luck with with the situation. Um, Kenya, in related to that, I think one of the ministers, probably Lloyd Austin, went to Kenya, or no, the president of Kenya came to the United States. Basically, the United States gave, because Kenya, after the shit got really out of hand in Haiti, Kenya basically said, "Oh, we don't know about this. We're going to need more money." So basically, the president of Kenya, Ruto, who's kind of very duplicitous, he came to the United States and he basically got the money, got the extra concessions, and now Kenya is going to supposedly send 1,000 armed armed soldiers to Haiti. I don't know what 1,000 armed soldiers is going to do in Haiti. I really don't. So we'll see what happens. What's happening with Haiti? Things are still very tenuous. In this Miami Herald article, it says that I guess 80% of the capital is still controlled by gangs. They call them. Some of those gangs are actually vigilante groups. Let's see what's going on. There was a bomb plot. So I guess Bukale just got inaugurated. Actually, that happened yesterday or today. And there was a bomb plot. Okay. What's going on? Mexico is having its presidential election. Two females running against each other. Those are the main candidates. And everybody expects the female, I forget her name. We'll see if we can. We owe them that much. Let's find their name. Uh, this female, she has a very very hard to pronounce last name. Starts with a S. Yes, Oh, it's a German name. Scheinbaum. So this lady, there was a lot of German immigrants that came to the United States. So came to Mexico throughout its history. So she might be a descendant of one of those. She's probably going to be the next president. I liked Obrador a lot, and I think he was one of the coolest, baddest motherfuckers on the world stage. He was just great. He had a lot of problems. He probably wasn't tough enough on the cartels. I get that, but man, this guy was so gangster. Everybody loved him. He was actually rated in one of these articles, rated as one of the top leaders in the world in terms of his popularity. I mean, he's like this old school gangster kind of air about him, and he'll go up there and he'll talk about Julian Assange and whatever. He's great. I just like the guy. So that's what happened there. Millet continues to steal the limelight. So there's a lot of stuff. Basically, there's been a few strikes. Here goes a strike here. There's a strike going on today. Let's see. Here goes a strike. So there was a strike. Another strike started today. What happened here in Argentina? Um, there was a shakeup in the cabinet. I think he just fired one guy or changed one main guy around. I don't even know why I put that article in there. There's more strikes. There's been strikes off and on in Argentina throughout the month. I've heard inflation actually is starting to go down month over month. So this one says inflation soaring. That's from earlier in the month. But basically, the media likes Malay. They cover him way too much. I kind of liked him at first until I realized he was kind of a puppet geopolitically for the United States. And then I was like, this guy's obviously a puppet. Let's see what's going on. U.S. plan to see. This is probably it looks like a Telesur article. So Telesur article here says that there was a plan. The United States had a plan to seize lithium. According to the Bolivian Information Agency, uh, so somebody in Bolivia says they have a plan. I would just look at the article, see. I don't remember how if there's any way to corroborate this. It's Telesur. They're a bit over the top sometimes, but it's plausible. It's definitely plausible. There's something going on. Yeah, the in Peru, the Peruvian president. This is the only story I believe I actually no, I got a couple here. So yeah, there's a basically the president of Peru received a Rolex watch as a bribe, so that's going on. So the president of Peru's in trouble. She kind of took power in a very shady way. I think the court basically declared her president. It was not a fair transfer of power. So that's about the Ecuador Mexico dispute. Colombia, anything interesting happening here? Oh, that was one big thing that happened. Colombia, Petro says breaking diplomatic relations with Israel. So he's actually going through it. And for Colombia, this is a big deal because Colombia actually had very close ties to Israel up until the Gaza war. And Colombia is an important South American country, probably the most important South American country in terms of its economic potential after Brazil. I mean, if Argentina can get its shit together, it would surpass Colombia most likely, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Let's see what the Canadians are doing. Whatever they're doing, they're probably doing it politely. They arrested in Canada some people they say were related to the Sikh lead or the Sikh separatist that got assassinated. So they arrested a few Indian nationals that they say are connected to the murder of that Sikh separatist. So that's been a big ongoing thing between Canada and India. And what I just saw actually, which led me to believe one of the so here at this Shangri-La conference it's going. So this is from today. One of the ministers in Canada said that now he made basically to me. Let me pause it and I'll find this quote. Yeah, so basically, this is one of their ministers, I forget which one, in Canada, and he said, I think the charges has created the circumstances where we can begin to address issues of disagreement and some of the concerns that India has also expressed to us. So they filed charges on these Indian nationals. I'm guessing that these Indian nationals are people that India cares about. Whether they had anything to do with the murder or not is not important. It seems to me that these people that they arrested are being used as bargaining chips. That's what it looks like to me. So I thought that was very interesting. I just caught that today. So yeah, what else do we have going on? Anything else interesting? This is about a pipeline to China. I mean, Europe, there's some shit going on in Europe. Let me see if I can jog my memory. China visited France, Serbia, and Hungary. So word is that, Macron and Xi did not get along very well. But then after that, he went to Serbia and Hungary. Macron has been just talking shit all month about sending troops to Ukraine. What his angle is, I don't know. It's like he sounds like he's really either very vested in Ukraine or he's playing some sort of game. I don't know. But yeah, that happened. What's going else in the fucking Anglo shithole of England? Anything else? Was that of Julian Assange? Yeah, Assange won his appeal an appeal in the U.S. extradition case. So that's good. I mean, I think the future looks grim for Julian Assange. I mean, this whole time, as I've said in previous videos, what they've been doing, I could tell, is the United States and UK have been coordinating to basically just keep him in jail as long as possible, hoping that he dies in the British prison. because they're afraid in the United States that if he comes to the United States, he will be acquitted, because there was the Pentagon Papers case, which is almost the same, almost exactly the same as Julian Assange's case, and I think it was Daniel Ellsberg was acquitted, or whoever was involved in the Pentagon Papers was acquitted for the same reasons that Julian Assange would be acquitted. So they never wanted Julian Assange to be extradited to the U.S. This has been all a farce. They want to just draw out the case as long as possible, and they want him to die in the prison in England. They don't want him to die in the United States. They want England to be the one to do it. England's just, they're putzes anyway. They're like, they used to be dastardly. Now they're just pathetic. So yeah, this happened this month. ICC seeks warrants against Hamas chief, Israel PM. So yeah, that was, like basically the ICC trying to rebuild its credibility after its sham indictment against Putin, which was obviously contrived and obviously at the behest of the United States. ICJ still doing its thing for what it's worth. I mean, I certainly have a lot more respect for the ICJ than for the ICC. The ICC was wholly contrived, just a complete nonsense court from the beginning. Germany's economy continues to look bad. I've disowned Germany as my home country. They're that pathetic. I no longer claim German. So yeah, this looks like, all this stuff has been going on. Let's see what happened in Baghdad. Anything good? Iraqi forces arrested ICE militants. Okay. Oh yeah, this was interesting. The Kuwait actually, the Kuwait has been experimenting with democracy, and basically what Kuwait just did is the emir, or whatever, I don't think he's a king, I think he's an emir, which is like basically a ducal level noble. The emir of Kuwait basically dissolved parliament. He said this whole democracy thing is not working out. So they've had a democracy now for a few years, probably under pressure from the U.S. And the emir is like, fuck this democracy shit. Democracy is the god that failed. So that's what he probably was saying under his breath. So this story is about Saudi Arabia basically trying to play both sides. We're going to do business with China, and then we're going to do what the United States says. So it's an untenable position. At the end of the day, Saudi Arabia is going to sell out to the United States, just like most of these Middle Eastern sort of countries. They're all there. They're only there because of they were created by Anglos anyway. So, we had... Oh yeah, I forget I didn't even have to get my memory jogged. The president of Iran died in a helicopter accident, so that was a shocking story. I don't see it. Where is that on here? That happened here. Don't see it on here, but I remember that happened. So why it's not on my? Is that it? Okay, yeah. So the president died in this helicopter accident somewhere way out here. He was flying from basically Armenia, I think, or Azerbaijan. Okay, no, it's over here. Yeah, it's over here. It's actually over in this area. So yeah, he was flying from Azerbaijan in bad weather, and they ended up somewhere. It's not exactly here, but in one of these mountains, they hit the side of the mountain. So a lot of people had a lot of questions about that, and were speculating that Israel was behind it. But apparently Iran has come out pretty forcefully and saying, no, it was an accident. And a lot of people are questioning Iran's protocol. Like, why did you fly your president and your foreign minister in an old helicopter in bad weather through the mountains? I mean, this would not happen in a lot of other countries. So looks like a really bad slippage of protocol, basically. The murder fest continues in Gaza. One interesting story is this fucking pier that they were talking about got basically destroyed by bad weather, so that was funny. The long-awaited sort of invasion of Rafah began, and basically, the Biden administration, for after saying that it's a red line or whatever, came basically one day they say it's a red line for the Israelis to attack Rafah. The next day they say it's not a red line. So who cares? Like I said earlier, Netanyahu just said it today. We're going to do what the fuck we're going to do. That's what Israel's going to do. Nobody in the Middle East is going to do anything about it. Nobody in the West is going to do anything about it. China's not going to do anything about it. Russia's not going to do anything about it. Basically, Palestinian Gazans are fucked. And guess who's next? These people in the West Bank. They're going to be next. And it's what it is. Now, I think it's basically the beginning of the end for Israel in a lot of ways. But for now, they're going to get away with this. There's no stopping it at this point. Egypt ain't going to do shit about it. Turkey isn't going to do shit about it. Turkey, Erdogan has been particularly pathetic. On the one hand, talking a lot of shit. On the other hand, secretly sending supplies to Israel. So this is just nonsense. Don't believe anything that these Middle Eastern leaders say. They're all full of shit. So I think I've covered this pretty good. What was going on down here? Togo said no presidential elections. Most people never heard of Togo. There's a little dispute between Benin and Nigeria there. Oh, this was a good one. So on 5/19, this is when this happened. So there was an American-based, basically he was a Congolese man who came to America back in the 90s. He had a lot of connections to not only U.S. political people, but also the United Kingdom, the UK government. And he, with a group of other people, including a few Americans, attempted to overthrow the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So I've been saying this for a while. There's going to be lots of intrigue between Congo and the United States because China is doing business in Congo, and the United States does not like that. And so also you have this, this mineral stealing operation going on which is being coordinated by Rwanda, Qatar, and probably the U.S. Okay, so it's a proxy of a proxy of a proxy war. So you got a lot going on in Congo. That's going to continue to be in the news. What happened in Zimbabwe? Elon Musk. So Elon Musk did a Starlink deal in Zimbabwe. That's good for Zimbabwe. This was the ISIS attack. Another place where there's ISIS attacks is in Congo. It's like, really? In Congo? ISIS? ISIS just seems to show up wherever the United States would benefit from trouble being caused. That's what it seems like to me, and I think that's what it seems like to most people. Maldives, Indian military exited from Maldives, so that was kind of a big deal for such a small country. And I think we are done for now. We had Taiwan. Oh yeah, we had big military drills in Taiwan. Basically, the new president of Taiwan took over. He said something. I remember reading it. It wasn't what I read didn't seem like he was really being too antagonistic, but China came in, and I believe it was the biggest drills ever done, so I heard. That may or may not be the case. You still have, what's this one about? Oliver Stone, yeah, there's opposition to new military base, not a big deal. What about, this was a funny story. This could be like a clown world here. So basically, there's been some drama going on between North and South Korea, and basically the North Korean government was sending balloons full of shit. So North Korea dumps excrement balloons on South Korea. So I thought that was funny. So that's going to be the video. I just wanted to go through a end of month review here. The broad situation is that all roads lead back to Ukraine. And we said this from the beginning, that Ukraine, because what Ukraine is It is a war between Russia and the United States and its NATO allies. That's what Ukraine actually is, okay? Whether the people in the U.S. want to admit it or not. And Russia is winning this war. And not only that, but people, countries, citizens of countries all over the world are looking at what's happening to Ukraine, how it's being destroyed basically by the United States, how an entire generation of its young people are being forced into military service and killed on the front line. Basically, this is all leading back to the U.S. So this is really destroying U.S. soft power around the world. Duarte said it. You can see Vietnam taking some steps back. Everybody, you see the ongoing sort of decolonialization movement in Africa. Okay, that with the Gaza situation, which is also a U.S.-backed situation. Okay, make no mistake, and this goes to something I've been wanting to, I've been pounding the table on this. Israel does not control the United States. The United States controls Israel. Israel was created by the Anglos. It's been an Anglo project from the beginning, and it continues to be Anglo today. It's an Anglo project. It always has been. It always will be. If the United States stopped funding Israel tomorrow, Israel would disappear overnight. That's just that simple. So no, Israel does not control the United States. The Jews don't control the United States. Okay. Most of the richest people in the United States are still Anglos. Now, the demographics have changed a lot in the last 100 years. It used to be 100 years ago, all of the important, rich, and powerful people in the United States were white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? WASPs. Now, that has shifted over the century, and now we're getting close to being about half, not even half, I'd say like 30% Jewish people on the billionaires lists, and the rest in the United States, and the rest are WASPs. WASPs still hold the power, okay? They still hold. The only reason that the United States supports Israel is because of WASPs, because there are more WASP Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists. The evangelicals and the Christians in the United States are overwhelmingly Zionist. And without those WASPs supporting Israel, again, there would be no aid flowing to Israel. The United States wouldn't even care about Israel. We would abandon Israel quicker than we're abandoning Ukraine right now. Okay, so this all goes back to the Anglos. The bad guy here are not the Jews. The bad guy is the Anglos. And if you go around and you talk to people who actually know what's going on around the world, they would probably, if you go to the Middle East right now, they will say, who's worse, the Anglos or the Jews? Most of them are going to say the Anglos. If you go to Africa, all of them are going to say the Anglos and the French, who are kind of like the gay version of the Anglos. If you go to China, they're fucking pit. They don't hate the Anglos, but they will say the Anglos are dangerous, dastardly, subversive, and nefarious because they've suffered under the Anglos. So I have to reiterate this. If we look at the history, Zionism, sure, it was started by a Jewish people who had this idea, but it was promoted by Anglos, first in Britain and then in the United States. And if those Zionists didn't have the ear of an Anglo, Israel never would have got off the ground in the first place. And if they still didn't have influence over the Anglos, then they wouldn't exist right now. And it's not the Jews' fault that the Anglos are allowing themselves to be influenced by the Zionist movement. This is, oh, poor me. AIPAC is bribing me. It's not my fault, right? Because AIPAC is bribing us. Ridiculous. So Israel is just another example that the world is seeing of how Anglo-American soft power is a disaster, and you have to avoid it. And we're seeing that all throughout Africa right now, and especially, I think, a big hot spot is Southeast Asia, okay, where we see a lot of moves being made, a lot of people going into their respective corners, and then you have the big alliance between Russia, and China that has basically come into existence since the Ukraine war started. Okay, again, Russia and China allied together, unstoppable. Period. Okay, end of story. Forget about it. Find a new hobby. Okay, and get over it. So that's all I got to say for now. I am out.